Alright guys, Eric Paul's in here with 9 to 5 Sports. Going to be getting into the picks, previews, and core plays here for the US Open. Do just want to start off with saying if you guys enjoy this video, please give me a like. That always helps, especially with the major here. If you guys want to join 9 to 5 Nation, your one-stop shop for PGA DFS, link is going to be in the description below. And make sure to like and subscribe. But also, do just want to point out that this week is a week in which you don't have to force stuff. Let your builds come to you naturally. You never really have to force anything with a major. There's a lot of soft price players here this week. It's going to be one that is going to be a fun week. Target PGA DFS wise, especially given the fact that this US Open is going to be played at Torrey Pines, which we consistently see on the tour for the tournament that is the Farmers Insurance Open. Now we do see that tournament played on the north and south course for that tournament, but still we're going to be able to know exactly which key stats to look at. It makes it much more easier to predict, kind of like AT&T Pebble Beach 2 years ago when it hosted the US Open. It was super easy to nail down who the picks were. We were on Gary Woodland that week, Chaz Reavie, a bunch of other players that went out and did well. It was actually one of the better PGA DFS weeks ever for kind of just 9 to 5 Nation as a whole. So, I am kind of liking this week a decent amount for PGA DFS. But let's get into it right now. We'll start off with that preview. All right, getting into the tournament preview here, just looking at the past two winners at the Farmers Insurance Open, it's been Patrick Reed finishing 14 under par and Mark Leishman at 15 under par. I think given the fact that Bryson DeChambeau won the US Open at -6 and Gary Woodland won the US Open at 13 under par, that we can kind of expect the winning score to be right around 12 under par, just kind of piecing those two data points together. I don't expect them to be able to go low, but also I don't expect this to play extremely hard like we typically see with the US Open. It's very difficult for them to really change the whole dynamic of the course. Now, Torrey Pines always plays difficult. It typically is even par or over par for the cut line. That's why I'm expecting the cut line to be right around, +3 or so. That's kind of just taking in the average of the last few Farmers Insurance Opens and the last few US Opens. Now, the nice thing about this tournament being played at Torrey Pines is that we know what key stats to look at because, well, we've had that Farmers Insurance Open. We're going to be looking at effective scoring. That's bringing in strokes gained differential, strokes gained to the green, scoring before the cut. I really love using that stat because it really paints the full picture of which players have been really just the most consistent throughout the whole season. And obviously, if we're looking at players that are going to make the cut, it's a great stat to use. Effective birdie to bogey ratio, players that are also, not making bogeys but are also scoring. We want to look at that. Ball striking, we're looking at strokes gained around the green and then strokes gained putting. We have seen that the last few winners at the Farmers Insurance Open have been statistically significant in strokes gained around the green and strokes gained putting. Just kind of looking over the stat fits there for this course, that would be Webb Simpson, Jon Rahm, Patrick Cantlay, Louis Oosthuizen, Xander Shawflay, Abraham Ancer, and Jason Colcrank. Really no surprise there. Those guys have been really good throughout this whole season. And then just kind of looking at course history, this is going to be the last 4 years of the Farmers Insurance Open, but also we're going to be looking at the last PGA Championship and the last US Open, just to really paint that full picture of players that have played well in majors, and then also players that have played well at this course. Those players include Tony Finau by a great margin. I mean, his course history is pretty crazy. Then Paul Casey, Louis Oosthuizen, Matthew Wolff, Patrick Reed, Jon Rahm, and Roy. And then just looking at recent form, there are a lot of great players in some good recent form. But we're looking at Colin Morikawa, Jordan Spieth, Louis Oosthuizen, Abraham Ancer. The rookie from last week had a good week there. Webb Simpson and Charlie Hoffman. But now let's get into the picks for this week. All right, so we're going to be getting into the high tier price point plays. Once again, I'm just highlighting the top 4 picks in each price point tier. Jon Rahm, Colin Morikawa, Xander Shawflay, and Victor Hublin were the top 4 in the high tier price point range. And now, how did I come to that conclusion? Well, I want to be looking at players that, one, have safety, but also have that upside. And these 4 players have just as much likelihood to go on and win, but also go on and make the cut. They're all safe plays, but they're all upside plays. Starting with Jon Rahm, yes, he's the highest priced play on the slate, which kind of sucks, honestly, but it makes sense. We just look at his past 3 starts at Torrey Pines. It's been 7th, 2nd, 5th, and then he also had a 29th place finish 4 years ago at this tournament. So that's obviously great. We look at his US Open last year, 23rd place finish. Obviously, the Memorial Tournament, I'm marking that as a win in my data. I hate to do that. I hate to skew the data because, well, someone like Tane Lee last week was top 20 model, and he had a pretty good week. So I typically do not like to go in and mess with the data, but for Jon Rahm specifically with the 6-stroke lead, I went in and marked it as a 1st place finish. Just throwing that out there. He also had an 8th place finish at the PGA Championship, played well at the Masters, 5th place finish, playing well in majors, playing well at this tournament. It makes a lot of sense that he would be someone that would be the highest priced player on the slate. Looking at the stats as well, but very good stat fit wise. Top 10 in effective ball striking, effective scoring, birdie to bogey ratio, long iron accuracy, which is another stat with this long rough. You want to be targeting players that have good long iron accuracy. He's another player that does that. The only worry with him is that I'm kind of worried about his strokes gained around the green, 61st, and putting, but that's really not that bad, guys. Second best stat fit, fourth best in the model, almost a 90% chance to make the cut. Yeah, Jon Rahm should be the highest priced player on the slate, and he is. Then we're going to be looking at Collin Morikawa. Collin Morikawa I really like this week, guys. Kind of the same thing as Jon Rahm. He's someone that I'll touch on a little bit later on, though, in this video. Once again, core plays are at the end of the video, so yeah, he's going to be a core play. Just I'll break it down further there for you guys. Then we're going to be moving on to Xander Shawflay. He's very interesting. A little bit worried about his course history. Second miscut, 25th place finish, and miscut. Very interesting there. The thing that, you know, we can tell is that when he's been able to play well, he's played well at this tournament. And when he hasn't been on his game, he's struggled and missed 2 cuts. But we're looking at his last few majors. A little bit worrisome there as well. 5th place finish at the U.S. Open. Last year, we like to see that. Then he had 11th at the Memorial. Miscut at the PGA Championship. I think that was mostly due to the fact that, you know, he should have won the Masters and he didn't. He choked on the stretch, kind of just handed it to Hideki to win. I kind of thought he would struggle at the PGA Championship because that mentally, I believe I faded him that week, which was kind of crazy because Xander's my favorite player. But I think this is a good bounce back spot for him. 9.3, not that much to pay up for him for a guy that can easily go on and win. He's a top 5 stat fit, ranks top 16 in the model. Overall, he's going to be a good stat fit as well. You know, top 65 or better in all the stats that we're looking at. We'd love to see that. So, yeah, Xander Shawflay is going to be another pick that I really do like. Then we're moving on into Victor Hublin. So, honestly, I was really struggling between Collin Morikawa and Victor Hublin in terms of, like, who I'd want to make a core play for this video. Well, I went with Collin Morikawa specifically due to course history. Hublin's had a 2nd place finish most recently, but he also missed the cut here once. So, not that big of a worry to me. You know, I believe that was his rookie year there. Not that worried. You know, he does struggle around the green as well. Strokes gained putting and strokes gained around the green. Those are his 2 worst stats. He doesn't have as much elite upside in terms of stat fit. Overall, though, pretty much the same stat fit as Collin Morikawa. We look at his recent form. His recent form has been very good as well for Victor Hublin. 47th, 30th, 3rd, 21st, 42nd. He also had a top 13 place finish at last year's U.S. Open. Victor Hublin does make for an incredible play at this price point. All right, so now moving down to that mid-tier price point range, I just want to highlight how loaded this range is. You got Patrick Reed, Tony Finau, who have elite course history. I'm not even including them in this video specifically. I like to highlight the top 4 players in each price point range. Not doing that with them. They both rank out top 20. Same thing for Hideki Matsuyama as well. And then you got players like Daniel Berger and Tyrrell Hatton, who I think are, you know, high upside plays, but just could not end up on them because, well, we have a little bit safer players in this price range that I'd rather play instead of them. So we're going to click off of those guys, but I just want to pull them up just for your guys' example purposes. They're not bad picks. I'm just going with the safer picks in this price range. We'll start with Webb Simpson here, who I was very close to making Webb Simpson a core play. The only reason why I couldn't is the fact that he hasn't had to start at Torrey Pines in the last 4 years. But look at his stats. Holy crap. Top 13 or better in all the stats that we're looking at. That is absolutely insane. Webb Simpson could really go off and dominate at this event. Sure, he might not be the longest off the tee, and if he does struggle accuracy-wise off the tee, that long rough could start to get to him, you know, eat up on him throughout the whole tournament. He might not have that winning upside that you want, but in terms of making the cut, in terms of having a top-end finish, Webb Simpson's looking like a quality pick. We look at last year's U.S. Open, had an 8th place finish there. PGA Championship, 30th place finish. And then Masters also had a top 12 finish. So, yeah, I really like Webb Simpson this ring. Ranks out best in the mile. 78% chance to make the cut at this price point. That's really tough to ignore from Webb Simpson. Then we're going to be looking at Will Zalatoris here as well. Really like him as a pick. Had a 7th place finish here earlier on this year. Did also miss the cut here in 2018 there. Oh, wow, that's a long time ago. Not too worried about that. 3 straight made cuts on tour. Not the best stat fit. Only ranks top 26. I'm not too worried about that, though. We look at his last few majors. This is where it really starts to pop for me. 6th place finish at the U.S. Open, 8th place finish at the PGA Championship, and a 2nd place finish there at the Masters. Absolutely spectacular there from Will Zalatoris. I think he's going to be a strong pick at that price point. Just not someone I think I'll end up on in cash. Strong GPP play, though. Then we're looking at Corey Connors. 8.2 is a great price point for him. One, he has good course history here. 37th and 29th place finish. We go down to the majors. yes, I'm a little bit worried that he missed a cut at last year's US Open, but really since then, his game has been elite. He had an 8th place finish at the Masters, a 17th place finish at the PGA Championship. He's made 11 straight cuts in a row, top 17 Stafford, top 12 in the model. Corey Connors at this price point is a great pick. Really no reason not to play him other than the fact that we get Louis Oosthuizen a little bit cheaper than him. He's another one of those picks that I'll talk about a little bit later on. Just look at this though. Third, 4th in course history, recent form, and Stafford. I mean, wow. Clearly mispriced, and I'll touch on that a little bit later on. All right, so now moving down to that low tier price point range. This price point range is not as loaded as it typically is. Now we have like 3 standout plays that I'll touch on. 2 of them are actually going to be core plays, which is why you're seeing Shane Lowry included in here, which I do like Shane Lowry as a pick, but Paul Casey and Abraham Mance are both going to be core plays, so those are both going to be players I'll touch on, at the end of the video. But get into someone like Jason Colcrank. Now, I love Jason Colcrank as a pick. 7.6, definitely way too cheap. 70% chance to make the cut. When I saw top 5 in the model, that's because he's top 15 in recent form, course history, and stat fit. He's checking all the boxes this week, guys. He's 7.6. Really, my worry with Jason Colcrank is the fact that he's coming off of a victory in his most recent start. Played well last year's US Open, though. Made the cut at the PGA Championship. Made the cut at the Masters. He's been playing really well. And at 7.6, yeah, if you get a made cut out of him, that's fine. You'll take that. Obviously, you want that upside, but at this price point, to just get a made cut from a guy that, could easily go on and get a top 10 finish, I absolutely love that. And he also has played really well at Torrey Pines in the past, 29th, 21st, and 20th. So 3 straight top 30 finishes, top 7 stat fit. Strokes gained around the green, 166 in that, but every other stat that we're looking at is top 50 or better. So yeah, Jason Colcrank, yes, he's coming off of that victory, which typically you don't really want to target players coming off of a victory. But this is the US Open. I'm not too worried about that. Then get into Shane Lowry. So why did I choose to include Shane Lowry? I just kind of like him. 8 straight made cuts in a row. Recent form has been pretty solid. 6th, 4th, 65th, 9th, 21st. Recent form has been there for him. I mean, 3 out of his last 4 starts have been top 10 finishes. He's a guy that typically does play well on tougher tracks as well. He'd be someone that I would want to pull up on the specialist page there at 9to5 Sports to really do a more in-depth breakdown to see how much better he's been playing as of recent. I do want to get into Charlie Hoffman because, wow, this is kind of a mispriced play here. Not as much of a lock as some of the core plays I'll touch on, but you almost could make Charlie Hoffman a core play. First of all, he ranks out top 9 in the model, 66% chance to make the cut. We like that. Look at his recent form rank, course history rank, and stat fit. All top 20 there. That's phenomenal. Let's look at that course history a little bit more. 9th, missed cut, and then a 35th place finish at Torrey Pines. Didn't have a start at the US Open last year, but he did finish top 20 at the PGA Championship. Prior to the Memorial Tournament, he actually had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight top 20 or better finishes. That's absolutely spectacular from Charlie Hoffman. 7.2. It's a great price point for him. You possibly could play him in cash. He's going to make for a great GPP play, though. We know that. All right, guys, so now moving down to that value tier price point range. Honestly, this is kind of a nice week in which we don't really have to worry about the value tier at all, I don't think. It's very easy to do a fair and balanced approach. And, other than going with Jon Rahm, I really see no reason to target anyone in this value tier. Now, there are some decent Euros here that I don't mind. And then kind of a random name, Chad Kim. Okay, he's been dominating on the Japanese tour there. He's actually made 3 straight cuts in a row on the PGA Tour as well, so I don't mind him at 6.1. I think he could somewhat be worth the risk. He did make the cut at the PGA Championship as well with the top 30 finish. Overall, I don't want to go crazy with that though, guys. It's definitely more risky. Maybe throw him in 5% of GPP builds. Same thing for someone like Taylor, who, he's been playing well on the Corn Ferry Tour as a whole. He's also made the last 3 cuts on the PGA Tour. We look at his last few starts on the Corn Ferry Tour, 23rd, 8th, 43rd, and 17th place finish, so really not bad there for him. And then we could also look at someone like Jordan Smith. I don't mind Jordan Smith. 9 out of 11 made cuts on the European Tour. That's not horrible. He's finished 11th, 3rd, 17th, and then 33rd in his last 4 starts on that tour. Typically I don't want to target those players too much, but given the price point, that's not too bad. And then Jonathan Bay's just been playing well on the PGA Tour, but he doesn't have good course history here. 1 made cut, which was a top 30 finish. Other than that, 3 straight missed cuts at this tournament. Overall, you know, he has been playing with a 2nd, 69th, 9th, and 43rd place finish over his last few starts on tour. Just not a price point range that I really want to go crazy with, especially this week. So, you know, don't stress it too much in the value tier price point range this week. But now let's get into the core plays for the US Open. All right, get into the first core play of the week. That is going to be Collin Morikawa. Collin Morikawa actually has the best recent form out of anyone in the field. That's because he's finished 2nd, 14th, 8th, 7th, and 18th over his last few starts on tour. That's absolutely spectacular. I already kind of mentioned it, but he's an elite stat fit. Top 10 in effective total driving, effective ball striking, top 20 in effective scoring, effective birdie to bogey ratio, and long iron accuracy. Really, the worry with him is going to be his putter. He ranks 167th in that. If he can get it going with his putter, he's going to have a good week. Heck, guys, he still ranks top 20 as a stat fit, ranking horribly in putting and, you know, not that well in strokes getting around the green. But he's still someone I don't think we can ignore. He had 21st place finish at Torrey Pines in his one and only start. Obviously has played well in majors in the past. I'm not too worried about that US Open miscut last year because that was following up his PGA Championship victory. You know, it was a little bit more pressure, a little bit more media time. I'm expecting him to be able to handle that a little bit better this year. So yeah, Collin Morikawa at 9.5 is going to be an excellent pick for me this week. Now moving down to the next one, it's going to be Louis Oosthuizen. And honestly, guys, at this price point, there's no real reason to fade him. He's literally checking all the boxes. Definitely way too cheap due to the fact that he's checking all the boxes. And honestly, the only worry with Louis Oosthuizen as a pick this week is the fact that a player in this price point range that has been checking all the boxes has, for some reason or another, kind of struggled, okay? Just a weird anomaly that's been occurring this year. I'm not worried about that, though, guys, okay? 3rd in recent form rank, 3rd in course history rank, 4th in stat fit. So course history rank, 29th place finish at Torrey Pines earlier this season. He's finished 3rd and 2nd at the PGA Championship, top 26th place finish at the Masters. He's also a top 4 stat fit with the lowest stat that we're looking at him, ranking 44th in effective birdie to bogey ratio. He's strong around the greens, top 20 in that, top 20 in strokes gained putting, effective scoring. Yeah, I'm really not too worried about Louis Oosthuizen as a pick. Like I said, the only reason to worry about him as a pick is possibly the fact that there is no reason to worry about him as a pick. Now moving down into the next core play, it's going to be a similar face for a lot of 9 to 5 Nation. It's going to be Abraham Answer. Honestly, I just don't see a reason we can not play him. Has one miscut here. Okay, I guess that'd be the miscut. That'd be the reason, I guess. One miscut in 2019, had a top 20 finish in 2018, so I'm not too worried about that. In terms of Torrey Pines course history, we look at major, he's finished 56th at last year's US Open, 8th at the PGA Championship, 20th at the Masters, or 26th at the Masters. Recent form has been spectacular, 14th, 8th, 2nd, 5th, 18th, 26th, 23rd, 18th, top 22nd. He's been a top 25 machine. So if we can get a top 25 finish out of Abraham Answer at 7.9, that is spectacular. He ranks top 8 in the model. Kind of the same thing with some of those other picks. It's, you know, he has to be playing well around the greens. Ranks 109th in strokes gained around the green. That's going to be the worry with Answer, but overall, I'm just not worried about him. The only reason to fade him is the fact that we have no reason to fade him. And now getting to the last core play, it's going to be Paul Casey, who for some reason just always seems to be mispriced during a major. I don't get what it is. Maybe the industry just hates Paul Casey. I don't know. The dude ranks top 10 in the model this week. That's because he's top 30 or better in recent form rank, course history rank, and stat fit. Now, he doesn't have any starts at Torrey Pines over the last 4 years, but if we're just looking at the PGA Championship and the US Open, 17th place finish at the US Open last year, 4th place finish at the PGA Championship. If you want to include the Masters as well, top 26 finish there as well. Pretty spectacular there for his last, 3 majors. If we're looking at a reason to fade him, it possibly could be the fact that he doesn't have any specific course history at Torrey Pines in the last 4 years, and also maybe the fact that he did miss a cut just 3 events ago at the RBC Heritage. Overall, I'm not too worried about it. That miscut really just seemed like him having a mental off week there after really dominating the whole season. Given the fact that he's a top 23 stat fit, I'm not too worried about it. Ranks top 40 or better in total driving, ball striking, effective scoring, effective birdie to bogey ratio. So yeah, Paul Casey at this price point, 7.9. I feel pretty good about it. Just loading up on Paul Casey, Louis Oosthuizen, and probably Abraham Answer and going from there. that is all I have for you guys for the US Open picks, previews, and core plays video. If you enjoyed it, please give me a like and subscribe. I do appreciate that. If you guys are interested in joining 905 Nation, your one-stop shop for PGA DFS, click the link in the description below. It's also the best value in PGA DFS. I know, kind of crazy there. It is. But, you know, I've always just designed my content and data website, you know, around you guys, the PGA DFS player. I don't want you guys to have to overpay for, you know, this content for you guys. It's just, you know, helping you guys take the next step in PGA DFS. So gonna have a lot more content coming out here for the US Open, so definitely look out for those videos. All right, thanks for watching, guys, and as always, let's keep cashing.